Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk, the podcast where pet parents, pet guardians, and pet professionals come together to dive into real issues in dog parenting. From controversial training methods to sensitive health topics, we're getting raw and real about what it means to care for our canine companions. Join us every Wednesday for unfiltered conversations, expert insights, and personal stories that will make you laugh, cry, and grow as a pet parent. No topic is off limits and no question goes unanswered. You won't get one perspective here. You'll get them all because every dog is different and every human is too. You can follow along on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Straight Up Dog Talk or by visiting www.straightupdogtalk.com. Tune in from any of your favorite podcast platforms. Welcome to Straight Up Dog Talk. I'm back again this week with another amazing guest. I have Sarah from Spot Dog here with me tonight. How are you doing tonight, Sarah?
Hey, I'm doing well. No complaints. It's a beautiful day in the DC area, and I'm so thrilled to be on here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. I started following you because what you're doing is just, I think it's really fascinating. And I also think that it's really helpful. And I think that this is something that can help people everywhere, which obviously is probably a great business wise for you, right? So why don't you kind of explain to everybody what Spot Dog here is and why you do what you do?
So Spot Dog here is a mobile-friendly website, and it's a database. We source all types of dog-friendly places that are truly welcoming. And you know what to expect when you head out the door, how dog-friendly that place is going to be. Now, we prioritize small and local businesses. Usually they are breweries, restaurants, cafés, wineries, and some retail locations. We always make sure that the retail place does have something for the dog. You really won't find Home Depots or Ace Hardwares or anything like that, although we love those businesses. Thank you for always being dog friendly. But right now we have about 200 cities that are mapped on our database. And we are working to develop this as an app so that hopefully everybody can access this through the App Store. But right now it is a mobile-friendly website, and you can get it on your phone and just about anywhere you go.
It is really cool because visiting different places, planning a trip, if you're taking your dog, or even if you're thinking about taking like a day trip or a weekend trip and you want to pop a town a couple hours away and you've decided the dog sitter can't come this weekend because you just randomly decided to go. So I want to know, like, what 2 hours away, where can I go that I can take my dog and have some like fun experiences. So that's the essence of what you do is you provide all kinds of information to places that have dog friendly experiences. And I like that you mentioned that you didn't like really include the big box companies. This is small businesses, and I'm all about supporting small and local and family owned, all that kind of stuff, because that's what we're doing, right? We're small businesses. We're trying to help the community and build, better communication between our customers and our listeners and just provide a better experience all around. So before we jump into this whole, let's talk about places we can take our dogs, let's have a conversation real quick about how not every dog is up for adventure and knowing how to gauge if your dog is fit for this kind of activity, because neither of my dogs is fit for this activity, and his name is literally Fitz. The irony there is not lost on me. But there are places, which I'm sure you have discovered some and will continue to discover some, that are small businesses that will allow you to have these experiences with your dog that doesn't interact well with other dogs or doesn't do well with new people or in new spaces. We've talked about a lot over the course of all of these episodes with other people about like raising the criteria, whether that's difficulty, distance, distraction, all of those things when we're training our dogs. And you can't take your dog from being in this perfect home environment and the very predictable existence of your life to we're going to the brewery with the charcuterie party and 18 other dogs and 30 people that we don't know. That's a lot. And we need to recognize that and kind of acknowledge that before we just dump our dogs into these situations.
100%. I mean, it really comes down to responsible pet parenting or pet guardianship. I do want to also acknowledge the word guardian, because
Mhm.
there are often times where you're fostering a dog or maybe you're pet sitting. But probably for most of our conversation, I will just shorten it to pet parenting. But yeah, you have to know your dog. And we see also the responsibility that businesses are taking on their end too, to make comfortable environments as well, but also to set expectations accordingly to folks who are going to bring their dogs with. So we like to use the word etiquette, but there are I don't think we can coin that because I have seen that word floating around elsewhere. But our co-founder Nicole did come up with that term in our world anyway. Really, just making sure that when you're bringing your dog to a specific establishment, what are their guidelines? What are their rules? Because they are making a conscious effort to create an inclusive space for your dog as well as for their other patrons as well that might be joining with them. But there's a whole discussion out there about socializing your dog. What are the right ways to do that? Should dogs be welcome at certain establishments? And arguments on both sides of that. Of course, I can see the reasoning for both sides of that, but at the end of the day, it is up to that business if they are going to be a welcoming space for dogs. And love that businesses are embracing and advertising their dog friendliness. So again, we're setting the expectation up appropriately for those who are bringing their dogs with them and those who are choosing not to, which I think is just equally important when we talk about advertising and knowing what to expect before you head out the door anyway. So we do a great job at Spot Dog here to make sure that if an establishment does have specific guidelines around how they incorporate and include dogs into their spaces, we'll put a little section in our notes about that business that's available in our database. And if an establishment has lengthier requirements and guidelines, we'll definitely make sure that users know to refer to the website for a full list of all that. But we're just out here wanting people to feel wholeheartedly confident about where they can bring their dogs and know what to expect before they get there.
I think that's just such a valuable resource. And I don't think that it's something that's really out there a whole lot because really taking our dogs, including our dogs, bringing our dogs places other than maybe to go for a hike or maybe a long family vacation on a beach or something where we bring our furry friends along with us. But this having places and activities and dog cookie bars and shopping sniff experiences and all this stuff that are actually businesses now because people are looking for those kinds of experiences for their pets that it's really kind of changed the dog industry in the consumer department a lot because it is putting those opportunities for our dogs out there. And I think that it is incredible, which is why I really think that, like you said, the etiquette is super important because if we're not following the rules, if we're just bringing our dog in and like our dog is sitting on the patio at this restaurant that's dog friendly and our dog is uncomfortable or barking or maybe even snapping or growling at people that are passing by, now we are ruining the experience for other people and we're stressed out and not having a good experience either. So I think you're right. It really does come down to like owner accountability and knowing how to one advocate for your dog, but yes, figure out where that proper socialization is and making sure that your dog is ready for something like that. I know that I have seen interactive experiences that are just for single dogs or both of your dogs at the same time or whatever. And I think that that's really cool because that there are businesses that will say, okay, we'll close down for an hour and you can come in and your dog can go through the cookie jar and pick its treats and you can design its collar while he does that. And I think it's really cool that people have come up with all of these creative ideas. And I think that it's really great that you can put them all in one place, especially, if the podcast ever does get to go on the road, for me, that's going to be really helpful because I'm going to want to say, okay, what is pet friendly? Can we go here? Can we go in the middle of the day when it's quiet, when nobody else is there and participate in some of these activities? Can we book a service and go do a sniffari in the cookie bar when nobody else is there and still have these fun, like explorative activities? So I think that what you're doing is going to have huge value to the community. And if you already have 200 cities and that just keeps expanding, this is going to be a really great resource for people. Do you have a membership for it? Is it currently free or is there a membership fee? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we want this resource to be free to any person that has a dog, is dog sitting, dog interested. And the reason for that is we simply just, our biggest priority is to make sure people have access to a reliable resource and one that's not gate kept. I do know that there are tons of wonderful specific communities, whether it's a Facebook group or an Instagram or city specific website that lists all the dog friendly places in that exact area. But what we want to do is reduce friction, reduce those barriers. So, as far as we can see, Spot is always going to be free for anyone that wants to use it and just simply find it.
I think that's great. And because there's gatekeeping out there and there is, I don't want to say lack of information, but not it's not inclusive. When you Google it, you find less things on Google than you're going to find if you're in the town and you can specifically ask around sometimes or look at the signs or all of the things. So I think that having access to something like Spot Dog is really, really exceptional. So tell me some of the favorite businesses that you've come across on the app that were just really unique or different.
There are so many places. So, right now, we probably have 2,000 businesses in our database right now. I've probably individually entered and looked at 75% of those businesses that are in there. It's just been amazing to this road of discovery what each place is willing to do for the one that comes to mind. I think this was one of the first businesses that came across my laptop, was a place up in New York where I believe you can order your dog maybe like a $50 steak, T-bone steak dinner. And that was the first place where I explored this world of the doggy menu. So not all businesses have a doggy menu and not all of them have something so expensive that maybe is more pricey than what I would be willing to spend for my own entree. But that place, if I'm remembering correctly, is called Wilson's. Not getting paid to push them. It just is memorable in my mind. But there are just so many places, because then you've got this section of dog bars, your Bark Socials, your Mutts and Martinis in St. Pete, Florida, which is just an incredible name and an incredible place that I actually have gone to. You've got businesses that are really designed first and foremost for the dog experience. And then you've got others where your dog should be just dining alongside you, and we're going to roll out the red carpet and the silver dog bowl and all of that. So, as far as favorites, it's going to be tough, but always the businesses that are truly giving back to their community, those are the ones that I always notice and always bring me just extreme joy. And I think that goes across the board for our whole team that works with here. Any place that is donating, supporting, hosting pet adoptions, and giving back to the dog community and beyond, those are always kind of our
Feel like they should be the stars because not only are they supporting the community in giving our dogs activities, ways for them to participate and stuff with us outside of going on walks and hikes and, car adventures, things like that, but giving back to the community, the other side of the community that is suffering, that is struggling, that maybe doesn't have homes, and now we're feeding dogs or giving dogs blankets or toys or things that they wouldn't have previously had without that funding. So yeah, I really feel like those businesses that give back are so important. And that is one of the huge things for me is making sure that we have people that come on here that are educating on how we can do that. How can we give back? Where can we go? If I shop here, what do you do that benefits the community outside of that? And I think that it's really important to have partnerships with people and businesses like that because it really furthers education and it also builds that community because now we're all supporting each other in advocating for our dogs and advocating for other dogs and helping support a community that is in kind of some unfortunate situations with the shelters right now. And I think that not everybody can or not everybody directly thinks about how they can get into their community and give back. I mean, and not everybody is made to volunteer at a rescue. Some people are fine with writing a check, but if you can support a small business and support the rescue at the same time, that seems like a really good viable option to me.
I know. I'm so glad that you say that. It's just really also at the core of Spot Dog here. We do acknowledge in our database, you can search for businesses and all of that, but we indicate if we know for certain a business does have some type of charitable effort, we indicate that. So for the people that are inclined, that's kind of the make or break for them, or gets them to go out and support a business, and it's just the cherry on top that they also donate and have adoption events and of the likeness, then we're glad that we can again push out that information in a way that people are discovering and can support their community.
So tell me a little bit about the DC area. Do you think of a very dog friendly community, and what kind of businesses have you checked out in DC?
DC is incredibly dog friendly. It's so wonderful to see. And I moved from DC to Baltimore a few years ago, and Baltimore is also a rival. And then you discover that Philadelphia is even more dog friendly than you could imagine. But DC specifically, people love their dogs, and it shows in all types of businesses. And DC is also just kind of a compact, walkable, or accessible city, but there are tons of beer gardens and patios and places that do special events for dogs. And you just see people walking in their neighborhood with their dog, and they decide to pop in for a pint or a cappuccino, and hey, maybe a puppuccino too. And it's really great to see. I think it brings people a lot of joy. One of the businesses that is really dear to us and has been a huge mutual supporter of us, and we've had events there, is the Brig, and that's located in Southeast DC. They have a great patio. They do pup events all the time. And they're also one of those businesses that have a lot of charitable causes that they support. But it's located near the Nationals ballpark, which is also really nice because the Nationals ballpark does do Bark in the Park events. So whether you want to pregame or end your baseball experience back at the Brig for a beer and a little bit of social action with your dogs, it's a great place. So highly recommend it. But DC just in general is really great. There are tons of apartment communities there as well that are constantly, I feel like, competing with each other of who can be more dog friendly, who can be more dog inclusive. And that's also just a wonderful thing to see when so many different aspects of what makes a community knows and understands that dogs are your family, and you're not going to give up your dog just so you can live in a certain type of apartment. So yeah, they're family, and that's definitely reflected in the DC area.
Oh, that's incredible. Cedar Rapids is not, it's not like that. We have a few restaurants that have patios that are dog friendlies, and they do have rules. They have the little stands out front that have the rules that say your dog must be able to be quiet, be underneath your table, underneath your chair, not bark at people passing by. Pretty strict rules. And then Des Moines, which is about 2.5 hours away, is apparently a lot more dog friendly. And from what I understand, I haven't been there myself. They do have a brewery that is dog friendly, that has a dog park in it, and I think they do have a dog menu. And so I think that it maybe can potentially be that way. But Iowa as a state, our two big cities are Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, and everything else in between is farming. There's a lot more small towns than there are big towns, and there's not big city here is not like Chicago and Cedar Rapids are two totally different things. And I don't think that unless you've lived somewhere, in the Midwest like this, like you understand. Because like even Des Moines is, more people than Cedar Rapids is our state capital, right? It's still nothing like Chicago. We don't have a metropolis area. We have some brand name things here, but you can't just go downtown and walk to whatever it is that you are looking for. We have a lot of family owned local restaurants, which is something that I love about it because we have so much unique food here. But at the same time, we don't have some of the staples. Like Cedar Rapids doesn't have a Nike store. You have to drive to Des Moines for that.
You can't get
Yeah.
your
I mean, you get your kicks at the mall, in the shoe store in the mall, but there's not a Nike store. I know another one like is REI, a huge active wear store that I found myself in last summer in Boston, and we don't have that here. We don't even have a Whole Foods in Cedar Rapids. That's probably mind blowing for some of you listening right now because like I know like Whole Foods access is like everybody's got a Whole Foods. There's a Whole Foods in Iowa City, which is where the University of Iowa is, but that's 30, 40 minutes away. We don't have a Whole Foods here.
Do you have a Trader Joe's? The world wants to know.
Not in Cedar Rapids. In Iowa City, in Iowa City, you got to drive. You got to drive 30 to 45 minutes to go to Trader Joe's. Yeah. Costco too. IKEA, the closest IKEA is Chicago. That's 4 hours away. Yeah. Yeah. So like, I understand why Iowa is not as dog friendly as other areas because we don't have the businesses. And I mean, also, this is a category that we don't talk a lot whole about on this show because people who have farm dogs don't really come on this show because those are working dogs. They're not specific, they're not obedience trained, they're not whatever. They herd cattle, they herd sheep. They're not part of the family, they're part of the farm. But that's a whole different classification of dogs that was out there just living their best life, doing their own thing, but they're also more intact with their natural instincts and their natural environments and those like prey drives and things like that because they're out on the farm doing their farm things. They don't know about the city and the sidewalk and what a leash is. It's wild because we have both ends of it here. I really am excited to, when I travel around, to use Spot Dog here and really just experience some of it, even if it's just without Toby and Fitz, even just for me to just experience it because we don't have that kind of interaction here. We don't have fun activities where we can take our dog to a place that they can have a sniffari and they can pick their own cookies and, have a shopping experience and have a $40 steak. That's not a thing here. So I just think that it's really cool that it is a thing in other places and that, people are really trying to help people include their dogs instead of leave your dog at home, which it is okay to leave your dog home. It's totally fine to leave your dog home. Go experience the dog places without your dog. I mean, that's what I'll have to do because Fitz is not the kind of dog. And using my pedicate, right? I'm not going to bring him to those places because he's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be stressed out and everybody around us is going to be annoyed with us, right? So we have to find a way where I can interact and experience and do interviews with people and, have to worry about Fitz being uncomfortable or Toby not liking this situation or whatever it is. So go experience the things without your dogs too. Experience them with your dogs if your dog wants to, but go enjoy them for yourselves too. We talk about self-care and self-love and your mental health all the time. That is self-love. That is self-care. That is for your mental health. Go out there, drink a beer, eat some appetizers, and watch the dogs play. Who could design a better afternoon than that?
Absolutely. And I am going to get my science wrong, so I'm not even going to terminology here. But it is proven, like dogs really, the interaction between dog and human does make you feel at ease. It gives you positive endorphins. I mean, like it's positive. And again, I'm not here to sell everybody on dogs. Not everybody does like dogs or has a relationship in which they feel comfortable to be around them. That's fine. But yeah, what we're talking about is dogs just, if you like dogs and you need some comfort and just some pure joy, go to a dog park, go to a dog bar and just interact and have a good time. You did bring up Boston though. It's a great city, absolutely great city. The reason why I'm bringing it up again though is not until recently did any restaurants that had patios where they permitted to allow dogs on their patios. And when you think of Boston, you do think of density and just urban living and bringing your dog part of your daily life with you out into your environment and your pit stop to enjoy a cup of coffee or tea or anything. And it wasn't until just this year that they changed their ruling, and restaurants, if you want to allow dogs on your pet, you can do that. But I do think that's one of those fascinating things that I want to look into a little bit more. And that really was, I believe, the community expressing their desire and restaurant business owners to say, hey, we know that there's a market here. And also these are our customers and so their dogs are just an extension of them. And There's no harm being caused. They're not going into the kitchen. I think that that's a really interesting modern case for a city that we would naturally probably all assume is just inherently dog friendly.
Well, and I mean, you're right, density. So my best friend from high school, like all the way, way, way back, he lives in Boston. And so occasionally I go out there and visit. And I have been to some of the surrounding areas, and Salem does have a couple of dog-friendly businesses that I'm aware of. But yeah, I never really experienced a dog-friendly situation. They don't have a dog currently. And I never would have mine because I would fly out there, right, and just hang out with them. That was never a priority or a conversation. You are right in terms of density. Everything is very closed. There are some streets that maybe one car can get down. You can't park on them. Apartments are stacked upon apartments, which are above restaurants, and very narrow stairways to get up and in and out, and just a very, very different kind of city vibe there than, say, out in California or even probably in DC. And obviously, that's because, the first settlements, they built there first and they were building in communities, and now it's just kind of the way the city was structured around them. I think that there is a market for it in an area like Boston. One of my things that I like to do is I like to go on the whale watching tours when I'm in Boston. I don't think we need to take our dogs on the whale watching tours, but I mean, could you rent a boat and take your dog on a boat? Or there's beaches. There's plenty of restaurants in that area around the water. They have a baseball thing too. I'm sure they could come up with their own bark in the park thing too. I think that there are just really endless opportunities if you're willing to deal with it. That being said, are you aware of, are there limitations? Are there rules? Are there special insurance, things that businesses have to have in order to prepare for this kind of situation? Or is that you have no idea because you just list the places?
Here in policy, but you do see patterns. So the best I can assume is every city, every ordinance, they have their own rulings on how dogs are allowed to be incorporated into a business. There are places in Seattle, I want to say, where I'm not going to vote anybody here, but I mean, dogs certainly are known to be welcomed by the owners of those establishments inside, even if there's food being served and stuff like that. We're not here to narc on anyone or bark on anyone. But it's really interesting. There's definitely it's a case by case scenario, and I think that that's fascinating. Chicago has their own rulings on this, where if you're not serving food, a bar can absolutely welcome dogs inside the establishment. And that's not necessarily true for every place, even if there isn't food that's being prepared on site. Dogs might have to remain outside. And just for clarity on this conversation, right, just for listeners, we're absolutely just talking about dogs that are considered pets for lack of a better term right now. Yep, exactly.
Yep, not service dogs.
Yep, exactly. So it's just really interesting to see what different communities, how willing they are to fight for dog inclusion. Gosh, that's a weird statement. And what the FDA rulings are too for specific cities.
Yeah, one of those things where that line can get a little bit blurred. Service dog, pet dog, access, ESA. There's so many rules. I'm sure as a small business, it's really difficult to figure out, okay, yes, no, where all of those fine lines are. Because if you let someone come in with a pet dog and then you deny a service dog, there's a lawsuit right there. So I'm sure that there are things that you do have to be really careful of and kind of know what the rules are. But it's kind of like you said, places where they're preparing food, they're cooking food. Obviously, we can't have pet dander and hair flying around. People have allergies and closed spaces. You wouldn't expect to go in and have your teeth cleaned or go into have a surgery and your dog be in the surgical area with you. That is not safe. That is contamination city, right? When you take somebody in, a dog, a person for surgical prep, there's all kinds of, you have to put on the gowns, you have to put on the gloves, you have to wash your hands, you have all these sterilized equipments, and the dog has to be sterilized and the air, everything. So you can't go into those kinds of things and be like, oh, I have to have surgery tomorrow. I'm going to take my dog with me. Well, think about that too. You can't just go to a restaurant and think that you're going to take your dog into a restaurant closed. It doesn't have windows that open, and we have food being prepared. And that person, 3 people over, is allergic to dogs. So, you're interfering with somebody else's experience too. And I think that again comes back to the pedicate and the owner accountability and being mindful of other people. Just because you want to have an experience with your dog does not mean the entire world wants to have an experience with your dog. As much as we would love for everyone to love our dogs the way that we do, that's not going to happen. So I think there has to be some level of expectation too. There has to be rules, there has to be limits. And again, people need to be understanding and follow them, because otherwise we're going to lose the ability to do these cool things with our pets and interact with them in these fun ways, because now there's been 3 bites and somebody got tangled up in a leash and somebody had an allergic reaction because there was hair in their beer. Well, now this place is no longer welcoming pets because it's affecting their business, right? So we have to always remember that these are businesses first, and it's their generosity and their preparedness and their kindness and their inclusivity that we get to bring our dogs in. And we need to be respectful and mindful of that. And especially in places like that, I mean, always tip your servers. But in places like that, tip your servers, tip the people that are helping you in the dog boutique, tip the people that are answering your questions, helping you fit collars, helping you pick treats that are right for your dog's allergies. Those people are there to help you, educate you, and provide a good, happy activity for you and your dog. Tip those people, shop at those businesses, and support them.
100% echoing you. Be kind to people, tip your servers, tip everybody. It's not easy to work in the service industry. I am a former service industry member, and that was the hardest job I've ever had. Yep, absolutely can't stress enough. You're so right. Tip.
Again, like I said, it's just like one of those situations where they're trying to help make your experience better. They're there for you to have a better experience with your dog or with other people's dogs or whatever the case may be in your situation. So show your appreciation. Let them know you appreciate what they're doing, because there are so many situations in which people are just in the Home Depot or Lowe's. I saw this on somebody's stories the other day where she was working with her dog, training her dog, and somebody came in with their dog off leash and their dog ran up and got into their dog's space. And she was like, "Hey, why is your dog not on a leash?" And he's like, "It's because it's Home Depot. He doesn't have to be on a leash." What?
No, no,
No, no, your dog should be on a leash. And again, with these small businesses and these experiences, unless it says your dog is allowed to be off leash or there's this designated area or there's, whatever, follow the rules and don't just take your dog's leash off and let him go. Make sure everybody's properly adjusted and that the leash is attached to your chair, wrapped around your body, or whatever the rule is, and make sure that you're being respectful of other people's spaces. But there are some places that do allow dogs to play together, have interactive pools or bark charcuterie bars or whatever it is that they have. So yeah, if you have a dog that's social and they can do those things, great. But don't just walk in and take off the leash. Like let's be smart. Let's make sure that everybody's comfortable and we're not putting anybody in danger or being the problem. We don't want to be the problem, right? We want to make sure that we are part of the solution and the positive interactions that are happening.
And I mean, there's a reason why businesses decide that they want to be inclusive and be dog friendly. One of the things that we would love to know, I have not come across it, but is there data that supports people who can bring their dogs to places? Do they stay longer? Do they spend more time, spend more money at those establishments? So if anyone out there knows where that data exists, please, I'd love to find out about it. And if you're a data expert or researcher and you'd like to work on that study, please also reach out, because I think that's valuable information that we can benefit from, but especially businesses that have the opportunity to choose to be dog friendly or go an extra step and be even more dog friendly.
Yeah, and reach out too if you're a small business and you want to be on the Spot Dog Here map. We want to know about you. We want to support you. We want to see you on the map, and we want you to be part of this Spot Dog community and help people with their adventures and stuff. Now, in your opinion, what you've seen, because I'm sure you've seen a wide variety. You said everything from steaks to just puppuccino things going on, right? We got a wide range of what's available. What do you think is missing? Do you think that there's something that there should be more of, something that you would like to see more of? Because I'm sure that a lot of it is restaurants and stuff. Do you see a lot of interactive activities? Do you see a lot of like safaris or set up events? Here in Cedar Rapids, we have this place called the PlayStation, right? And the PlayStation has slides and ball pits and climbing net thing. Do they have a doggy parkour park anywhere? That's what I want to know. I want to know if there's cool, weird things to do with your dog.
There are so many cool, weird things. Yes, there are absolutely, when we get more into that design concept that maybe is more prevalent on the East Coast, you definitely see establishments that have doggy pools. And yeah, a little bit of obstacle courses, that sort of thing. Can't really think of anything that is out of the realm of like reasonable possibility. There's just so much out there. But yeah, definitely the places, particularly in Florida, that have dog pools year round, and it's a great place for the dogs to cool down and all of that. In terms of snifaris, which that's the first time I've heard that term. So thank you for exposing me to that. That is awesome. Our database, definitely the least prioritized establishment type is retail in our database, but there are definitely a few places. One is in Raleigh, I'm thinking of, and it's called House of Dog, and it's a dog cafe, but they do a lot of meetups. And when I say breed, I'm also so happy to say that a lot of places say this is mutt night, mixed breed night. I love that. Shout out to those places for recognizing all types of dogs. And there are definitely places that do that sort of thing where you bring in the dog, whether it's a singular solo activity for potentially dogs that are reactive or just need their space, that are picking their own toy or something like that. But I'm here for the pet bakeries that making dog birthdays more joyful for all attendees. I think that is such a special talent. When
I think that's fun too.
Yes, yeah. There's one in Charleston, South Carolina. They're excellent. But I look at those desserts and I'm like, okay, sweet potato, carrot. Yeah, I can eat this.
Dog cake for everyone.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that is so fun. So the reason that I asked that is because sniff spots, I've seen some pretty cool sniff spots that have the Sniffari adventures, or they have the parkour and agility course set up in the little kind of zone thing. And I mean, I honestly, I feel that there is definitely a market for that because, these play spaces for dogs, because there are plenty of people in these larger cities that don't have backyards and maybe have a dog that is not great with other people, can't go to the dog park, doesn't like to go on walks. Let me just describe my dog a little bit more. Like we have a backyard, fortunately, but in a larger city, if we didn't have a backyard, I would always be looking for opportunities to take my dog to do some fun things. Because the one thing that I always see on Instagram, and I fully believe this, is that our dogs their lives are only as big as we allow them to be, right? So if we can find these really neat places and these really unique experiences and take them to go do those things, like dogs are always best day ever, but take them, make those core memories, make those best day evers like happen as often as you can make them happen. Give your dog that flexibility and just something fun and different to do. Because if you had to live in the same place with the same routine, the same feeding schedule, the same play schedule, everything controlled by somebody else for your entire life. I mean, we all did it, right? We were all teenagers and we all hated it. We all wanted to grow up and be adults, right? Our dogs are perpetually stuck in that state. So advocate for your dogs, take them to these cool places. I mean, people like Sarah here are trying to help you do that with your dog. So definitely take advantage of it. Tell us all the things, Sarah. Tell us where we can find you, how people can get a hold of you, where they can drop their questions, all the things.
Yeah, definitely head to our website. Again, it's mobile friendly, but it's Spot Dog Here. You can email us at our admin email account that's on our website. And then on Instagram, please follow us, DM us, tell us about your dog. but our Instagram handle is Spot Dog Here. And yeah, I manage that social media account. So you're going to be talking to me if you do DM us, and definitely appreciate all the follows, all the likes. My team is doing this. It's a passion project. We all have other full-time jobs. We'd love for Spot Dog Here to be our full-time job, but every like and engagement that you all give us and just share with us your experience with your dog and taking your dog out with you on the amazing adventures that I know you all go on is really helpful and brings us so much joy.
Absolutely. And if you go to a place because of Spot Dog, tag them, tell them, tag the place, let everybody know, because that's how we spread the word. And again, this is all about community, supporting community, because right now, the podcast is still a passion project too. I would like for it to be a full-time gig along with the dog training. All of the time and everything that goes into this is building this community for you guys, making sure you have connections to things like this so that you can find stuff to do with your dog. So you have access to trainers. So you now know that there's a really freaking cool bakery in South Carolina, like all of the fun stuff. So thank you, Sarah, so much for being here tonight and for sharing Spot Dog Here with everybody. And always am like checking out to see what's new and what's popping up on your page. And I really truly hope that one of these days it's going to be the podcast mountain up and taking an adventure and checking out some of these places with you guys.
We would love to see that. Yes, thank you, Em, for the invite to be here. Well, listeners of Straight Up Dog Talk podcast, and we want to see you on the road and where you end up as well.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys listening. And I just love engaging with you guys and working with you guys. Hopefully you guys will see some further collaborations between Straight Up Dog Talk, Straight Up Dog Training, and Spot Dog Here. And we will see you guys next week on Straight Up Dog Talk.
Straight Up Dog Talk was created by Emily Breslin. It is edited and produced under the supervision of Straight Up Dog Talk, LLC, and Emily Breslin. If you're enjoying this podcast, follow or subscribe and be sure you don't miss an episode. And leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Looking for more honest and relatable dog content? Check out our sister show, Unpacked, with Jerry Sheriff and Madison Simpson. Thanks for listening to Straight Up Dog Talk. See you next week.